Hey guys, what's up? It's Nate. Today we're going to be reviewing a recent blog post by Ryan Holiday. The title of that post is "Here's the Strategy Elite Athletes Follow to Perform at the Highest Level." Now, this, according to the article, is an adaptation from his book titled "The Obstacle is the Way," which has gained a tremendous amount of notoriety, specifically in the sports world. So it's no surprise that some of those same concepts are pulled from that book and into this article. When Coach Shaka Smart was interviewed after his team beat North Carolina in a surprise upset last week, what did he say? He didn't focus on the buzzer beater or the strategy. He said his team won because they followed the process. Tony Rotten, a guard for the 76ers, got the same advice from his coaches. They tell us every game, every day, trust the process. John Fox, the coach trying to turn around the Chicago Bears, asks his team the same thing. But what the hell is it? What is the process? It can be traced to Nick Saban, the famous coach of LSU and Alabama, perhaps the most dominant dynasty in the history of college football. But he got it from a psychiatry professor named Lionel Rosen during his time at Michigan State. Rosen's big insight was this: sports, especially football, are complex. Nobody has enough brain power or motivation to consistently manage all the variables going on in the course of a season, let alone a game. They think they do, but realistically they don't. There are too many plays, too many players, too many statistics, counter moves, unpredictables, distractions. Over the course of a long playoff season, this adds up into a cognitively impossible load. Meanwhile, as Monty Burke writes in his book, Saban, Rosen discovered that the average play in football lasts just 7 seconds. 7 seconds. That's very manageable. So he posed a question. What if a team concentrated only on what they could manage? What if they took things step by step, not focusing on anything but what was right in front of them, and on doing it well? As a result, Nick Saban doesn't focus on what every other coach focuses on, or at least not the same way they do. He tells them, don't think about winning the SEC championship. Don't think about the national championship. Think about what you needed to do in this drill, on this play, in this moment. That's the process. Let's think about what we can do today, the task at hand. It's this message that's been internalized by his players and his teams, which together have 4 national championships in 8-year span, 1 Mid-American Conference championship, have been crowned SEC champions 15 times, and Saban has received multiple coaching awards. In the chaos of sport, as in life, process provides a way to turn something very complex into something simple. Not that simple is easy, but it is easier. Let's say you've got to do something difficult. Don't focus on that. Instead, break it down into pieces. Simply do what you need to do right now and do it well. And then move on to the next thing. Follow the process and not the prize. As Bill Belichick famously put it, just do your job. The road to back-to-back championships or being a writer or a successful entrepreneur is just that, a road. And you travel along a road in steps. Excellence is a matter of steps. Excelling at this one, then that one, and then the one after that. Saban's process is exclusively this: existing in the present. Taking it one step at a time, not getting distracted by anything else, not the other team, not the scoreboard or the crowd. The process is about finishing games, finishing workouts, finishing film sessions, finishing drives, finishing reps, finishing plays, finishing blocks, finishing the smallest task that you have right in front of you, and finishing it well. Whether it's pursuing the pinnacle of success in your field or simply surviving some awful or trying ordeal, the same approach works. Don't think about the end. Think about surviving. Get it right from meal to meal, meeting to meeting, project to project, paycheck to paycheck, one day at a time. And when you really get it right, even the hardest things become manageable. As Heraclitus observed, under the comb, the tangle and the straight path are the same. That's what the process is. Under its influence, we needn't panic. Even mammoth tasks become just a series of component parts. This was what the great 19th century pioneer of meteorology, James Pollard Epstein, had shown to him in a chance encounter as a young man. Unable to read and write until he was 18, Epstein attended a rousing speech by the famous orator Henry Clay. After the talk, a spellbound Epstein tried to make his way toward Clay, but he couldn't form the words to speak to his idol. One of his friends shouted out for him, "He wants to be like you, even though he can't read." Clay grabbed one of his posters, which had the word Clay written in big letters. He looked at Epstein and said, "You see that boy?" Pointing to a letter. "That's an A. Now you've only got 25 more letters to go." Espy had just been gifted the process. Within a year, he started college. What Rosen, what Espy, and what these coaches are practicing is a central tenet of Stoic philosophy, one which I've tried to pass along in The Obstacle is the Way. It's just a modern take on Marcus Aurelius when he advised, "Don't let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole. Don't try to picture everything bad that could possibly happen. Stick with the situation at hand and ask, why is this so unbearable? Why can't I endure it?" 7 seconds. Sticking to the situation at hand. Focusing on what's immediately in front of you. No strain, no struggling, so relaxed. No exertion or worry. Just one simple movement after another. That's the process. We channel this too. We needn't scramble like we're so often inclined to do when some difficult task sits in front of us. Instead, we can take a breath, do the immediate composite part in front of us, and follow its thread into the next action. Everything in order, everything connected. When it comes to our actions, disorder and distraction are death. The unordered mind loses track of what's in front of it, what matters, and gets distracted by thoughts of the future. The process is order. It keeps our perceptions in check and our actions in sync. It seems obvious, but we forget this when it matters most. Right now, if I knocked you down and pinned you to the ground, how would you respond? You'd probably panic. And then you'd push with all your strength to get me off of you. It wouldn't work. Just using my body weight, I would be able to keep your shoulders against the ground with little effort, and you'd grow exhausted fighting it. That's the opposite of the process. The process is much easier. First, you don't panic. You conserve your energy. You don't do anything stupid like get yourself choked out by acting without thinking. You focus on not letting it get worse. Then you get your arms up to brace and create some breathing room, some space. Now work to get on your side. From there, you can start to break down my hold on you. Grab an arm, trap a leg, buck with your hips, slide in a knee. It'll take some time, but you'll get yourself out. At each step, the person on top is forced to give a little up until there's nothing left. Then you're free. Being trapped is just a position, not a fate. You get out of it by addressing and eliminating each part of the position through small, deliberate action, not by trying and failing to push it away with superhuman strength. With our business rivals, we rack our brains to think of some mind-blowing new project that will make them irrelevant. And in the process, we take our eye off the ball. We shy away from writing a book or making a film, even though it's our dream, because it's so much work. We can't imagine how we get from here to there. How often do we compromise or settle because we feel that the real solution is too ambitious or outside our grasp? How often do we assume that change is impossible because it's too big, involves too many different groups, or worse, how many people are paralyzed by all their ideas and inspirations? They chase them all and go nowhere. Distracting themselves and never making headway. They're brilliant, sure, but they rarely execute. They rarely get where they want or need to go. All these issues are solvable. Each would collapse beneath the process. We've just wrongly assumed that it has to happen all at once, and we give up the thought of it. We are A to Z thinkers, fretting about A, obsessing over Z, yet forgetting all about B through Y. We want to have goals, yes. So everything you can be in service of something purposeful. When we know what we're really setting out to do, the obstacles that arise tend to seem smaller, more manageable. When we don't, each one looms larger and seems impossible. Goals help put the blips and bumps in proper proportion. When we get distracted, when we start caring about something other than our own progress and efforts, the process is helpful. If occasionally bossy voice in your head, it is the bark of the wise older teacher who knows exactly who he is and what he's got to do. Shut up, go back to your stations, and try to think about what we are going to do ourselves instead of worrying about what's going on out there. You know what your job is. Stop drawing and get to work. The process is the voice that demands we take responsibility and ownership, that prompts us to act even if only in a small way. Like a relentless machine, subjugating resistance each and every way it exists. Little by little, moving forward one step at a time. Subordinate strength to the process. Replace fear with the process. Depend on it. Lean on it. Trust in it. Take your time. Don't rush. Some problems are harder than others. Deal with the ones right in front of you first. Come back to the others later. You'll get there. The process is about doing the right things right now, not worrying about what might happen later or the results or the whole picture. So that was a pretty awesome entry. I've been signed up for his newsletter for several months now, and I read this one and it really struck home with me. So if you're looking for this article, it's at ryanholiday.net. Holiday spelled with one L, so it's RyanHoliday.net. I highly recommend signing up for his newsletter. It's really good. And there are a few things in here that I really, really like. One is the comment about we are A to Z thinkers, but forget B to Y. That is a great metaphor for how typically I think people in general, I know I've fallen into this, even with these videos or podcasts, you tend to start out by thinking about, well, how am I going to get to 1 million downloads? And you forget the fact that you just need to turn the camera on, turn the mic on, and create, an episode, right? You worry about how you're going to get to the end, and you forget about what's right in front of you. So I really, really love that. I think that has application in so many areas of our lives. And the other thing that really stuck out to me is the comment about, let's see, where is it? Being trapped is just a position, not a fate. And I think that a lot of times what happens, at least it's happened to me before, and I see it happening to people, friends, family, that you get stuck. And then the fact that you're stuck at the moment, you feel like that is going to never end, right? Or if you had some trauma in your past, right? That past trauma ends up being the root cause for many number of, let's say, failures or shortcomings or misery throughout the rest of your life, because you're thinking of what happened to you previously as your fate, right? It's an indicator of what will continue to happen to you. So I love the fact that he's saying you get out of it by addressing and eliminating each part of that position through small, deliberate action. It's not a windfall, right? You can't go from never running to running the Boston Marathon. It just doesn't work like that. So if you think about it as, man, I need to run, 20 plus miles, it seems daunting and impossible. But if the goal is just to put on your shoes and get outside and run until you get tired, and then tomorrow run a little bit further, and then the next day run a little bit more, that is a process, right? Now every day you have a small, achievable task at hand that will build into something much larger, right? And those small tasks in this essay, what Ryan's saying, what a lot of coaches are saying and athletes are saying, is that those little things, approaching every drill, every meeting, every film session, every play as a complete task, as a complete process in and of itself. That's the only thing that matters at that point, is the thing that you are currently doing, right? For me, it's this episode. The next episode doesn't matter. The 5th episode after this doesn't matter. Nothing else matters besides doing this and achieving this and publishing this. And taking that same approach to, your day at work, your evening at home with your kids or your wife or whatever it might be, and really focusing on what you're doing currently and trying to do that well, under the assumption that if you do that well, the thing that you try and do next, you're going to do well, right? If you just focus on having a good Wednesday, then it's more likely you're going to have a good Thursday. And then if you have a good Thursday, it's more likely you're going to have a good Friday. And if you have enough good days in a row, that turns into a good week. And enough good weeks in a row turn to a good month. And good months turn into good years, and good years turn into good decades, and good decades turn into a good life. But it all starts with what you're doing right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, if you're looking for Ryan, you just Google Ryan Holiday. He's all over the internet. His website, again, ryanholiday.net, is where I found this blog post. If you have any comments or any ideas or any examples of how you apply the process in your life, I'd love to hear about them. Leave a comment down below. I'll try and respond. And until next time, we'll